I were to ask you, of all the industries that exist, if all of them were asked how much they trust their employer to use AI in ways that benefit them, which industry do you think has the lowest trust in their employer to use AI well, and which ones have the highest?
The lowest is going to be an industry that employees feel like they're going to get replaced. So it's got to be something in like call centers or support or things that rely heavily on human interaction, maybe like real estate.
Ding, 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 ding. Real estate is the lowest, followed by entertainment, film and TV, and education. Those are the bottom three.
I would actually think entertainment would probably outpace real estate, now that you say that.
Yes, but entertainment will be harder to change than real estate. Real estate is such individual people doing roles, versus entertainment is very unionized. And
just reiterate the exact question again. It's
people are asked, how much do you trust that your employer will use AI in ways that benefit you?
Okay. Towards the top, I would think maybe software development or law. Probably something like law, because at the end of the day, a human is going to need to interact with another human. They're going to be slow to adopt. So those employers might lean a little bit more towards amplifying the person doing the work. But it's a tough question. It's basically saying which employers take the perspective of don't replace the employee, but support the employee.
And this is asking employees what they believe to be true, not the employers.
Right.
So to your point, 5th place is software, 7th place is law. Number 1, though, is healthcare, where people have the most trust in their employer using AI to benefit them. But even then, the numbers aren't great. There's all of this, to jump to where this is all coming from, is the economist and commentator Kyla Scanlon, who, she has a best-selling book and has been on Daily Show recently. She has been conducting studies around what employees are feeling in their business, and I thought it was really interesting. So we'll link it in the show notes. But the number that surprised me the most was people were asked, have you received training on AI tools in your job? There is the ones at the very top that you would kind of already assume, yes, of course they'll be there. Software industry, consulting industry, cybersecurity, et cetera. Those are the top 3. Everything else is 50% all the way to 95% of people have never received training, which I think to me stood out as, that's not surprising to me, because we're feeling it every day, just as I'm sure your team is, of how early people are to using AI in their day-to-day role. So to see, design and creative industries say 80% of respondents say I've never received on-the-job training to do AI, but also energy, transportation, logistics, engineering, academia, like it's just across the board.
Yeah. Training, though, I mean, it's hard to give training on something that you haven't established a process for.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of these, especially like entertainment, film, or energy, or transportation, logistics, like what are the tools that they're even using? Like someone who's, controlling design teams or creative teams isn't going to run a workshop training on ChatGPT, right? Like that just seems a little off, right? Training is going to happen way at the end of the life cycle of a tool adoption. So I'm not surprised a lot of these companies or a lot of these industries, the employees have not received on the job, training about how to use or what AI to use in whatever context. I just think the industry, clearly the industry is not mature enough for that yet. And I wonder what, like those that did get training, right, in 45% of advertising and marketing firms, or 45% of legal employees, what are they getting trained on? Because is it ChatGPT, or is it like a hyper, specific vertical, AI SaaS that their firm adopted that they need to get training on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why this report, I think, stood out to both of us as being really interesting, because two things there. One is, one of the other big questions that is asked in this is, what are the things that you want to see training or transparency on in your business? As in, what would you like to know about AI in your business, or what do you actually want done for you to help adopt AI? The number one answer was training and upskilling is the number one thing that people want from their employers. 2 is algorithmic transparency, and 3 is job transition guarantees, which is fascinating that the very top one is they want training and upskilling, but only 2 down from there is also job transition guarantees, as in, please train me on the thing that I know will probably replace me, but for now I want to hold on and I want to be able to use it. So I think that's one side.
That's really encouraging. I think that's really encouraging, as like, if you're an employer and you're seeing that,
yeah,
it's telling you that your staff isn't looking to just sit on their hands and be like, woe is me, I don't know how to use these things. Bye. It's, hey, enable me to create a path forward, even if it's different than the work that I'm doing now. It's worth it to me to upskill and learn, right? We talked about a couple, I don't know if this was on recording or not, like, you know, in the late mid 2000s, 2010s, you put, you know, Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word in your resume. And now people are saying, you know, I know Gemini, and I know how to use ChatGPT, or I know some basics around prompting or whatever, right? Like these are the upskilling and training and transitions that I think people are craving, that, you know, those coming out of college right now are at the forefront, ironically, of how to use these and how to use these tools.
Yeah, I completely agree, which brings me to my second point on training, why that doesn't surprise me seeing that at the top is, I think everyone knows this isn't the digital transformation generation or era of, call it, you know, 2005 to 2015. This is a totally different era where everyone at all levels needs to have a fundamental understanding of the technology to be able to figure out how it's going to be best used in their business. And so, like, the next 2 weeks, someone that we've kind of partnered with silently, but to help just with some workshops that they do, training CEOs basically on the fundamentals. And so this team runs, you know, workshops with CEOs, half dozen at a time. I've done a few already, and I'm doing a few more over the next couple of weeks for one of their kind of 4 sessions that they do. But why I share all this is, like, these CEOs are paying not insignificant sums to educate themselves on the fundamentals of what is an LLM and how we use this in our business, and what does our data need to look like? What does our tool and tech stack need to look like? How do we look at our processes and whatnot? I think that the ones staying ahead as companies, are the ones with leaders who are saying, either I understand this stuff and we're going to figure it out, we're going to get people to training and upskilling, or I don't even know. So my team is asking me for training and upskilling, and I don't know what to train and upskill them on.
Yeah.
And that is just every team, I think, is going through that right now. So I think the training I guess what I'm trying to stress is leadership has got to either have the resources internally to take care of this for them, or they need to train themselves on what they need to do as a company, because this train is waiting for no one.
It's really hard to train yourself, right? In some regard. I mean, you and I have done that to some extent, just like cutting our teeth on this stuff, you know, for the last, I don't know, 7, 8 years, 5 years at least. But the interesting thing for an executive trying to put bounds on what they can or can't do, or what their understanding is of LLMs and AI and automation, and what workflow design could be for them, I think is, like, it's so hard to parse the difference between hype and reality for someone who's not actually in it and trying to build certain things and seeing where the bounds are. Because, you know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, there was something that was impossible, and now it's trivial, right? And that's a super fast moving target to begin with. But when your discipline is something completely devoid of this discipline, it's really hard to calibrate your expectations to figure out what to even ask for, right? You can ask whatever you want to ChatGPT and it'll tell you something, but it doesn't mean you have the right question to begin with. And I think that's where executives are really hungry to figure out, like, what are the questions that I even should be asking for my organization to advance this get off zero, right? Just to move the needle a little bit. Because right now, just having everybody try anything is not a great strategy.
No, and having the majority of folks thinking of AI in their business as just a ChatGPT or Copilot window is not AI in your business. So
No.
I'm glad to see that people are figuring it out, but I think what everyone is looking for is a way to orchestrate it all. How's that for a segue?
Oh,
So that's not really the segue though. The thing we actually want to talk about is our ongoing saga of the Real Housewives of Browsers. Browser City.
Yeah, that's actually what I really want to talk about.
Yeah,
we could
which
talk
will
about
lead into orchestration. Okay, you go. Browsers.
Which maybe, you know, maybe this browser ends up becoming an orchestration thing. All right, I'm burying the lead here. The browser company of New York got acquired by Atlassian. The browser company of New York, the Arc browser,
And Dia, the AI
and
browser.
and the Dia browser, the Dia browser, whatever.
Whatever.
They got acquired by Atlassian for $610 million in cash.
Well, it is wild though, given that they're a browser that was fundamentally not generating revenue at that amount of cash buyout. But it's so indicative. My two thoughts before we go into the what does it all mean. Part one emotion I had was absolutely this is inevitable, and part two of my emotion was Atlassian. Fuck. But keep going.
But Justin, everything is better with capitalism.
Right? But things are also better with people who understand UX. Granted, they have done a good job.
Independent.
And they have done I would say a good job so far. It's still early days, but they did this with Loom as a great example of like a tool that everyone loved.
Oh, Atlassian.
Atlassian bought them and then kept it as its own thing so far. And we use Loom and it's great. On the flip side, when I was in a ops role internally before starting Switchboard, running IT, we used Help as our Help as our ticketing system because you could initiate and manage it right through Slack, and it was wonderful. But then Atlassian bought them and said, "Oh yeah, they're going to say their own thing." And then 6 months later, it was merged into Confluence, Jira, and all that. So I'm the news of the acquisition. I am cautious.
I'm cautious too. I saw the announcement videos both from the browser company and from Mike Cannon-Brookes, the CEO of Atlassian. I'm hopeful. I was very sad. Generally, my part one of the emotion was like, but it was so great to be like they had like a cult following, right? And there were like so many diehard users.
You wanted to be a part of the cult?
I mean, not so, I just wanted there to be a not Chrome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That I think that's what I like, a better experience beyond Chrome, beyond Firefox, that just felt like a native SaaS tool. Like the thing that really broke my brain when we switched over to Dia was like the lack of ability to collapse that sidebar or that top bar. Like I need full screen now, right? I'm not gonna go the whole day with like tape on my glasses, right? Like why are we keeping the sidebar here? But yeah, I think it is inevitable. Of course, they were going to get acquired at some point, but Atlassian.
So I think that's the main reason we brought this up. Of like, it seems you and I, when we talked about it, read it as not just Atlassian has a browser now. We think why they did it speaks to a larger thing going on in AI and automation across the board of consolidation for the purposes of orchestration. Before we go into that, I think it's also important to note too that it's been, there's been antitrust government cases about browsers with Google even this week granted, not so much the browsers, their ad business, but Google had another one this week where they keep getting to do what they want to do. But we're in a new era now with, Arc, Dia, etc. But we're also seeing other browsers start to pop up. There's been all this news coming about OpenAI supposedly working on one. Perplexity has their own. It's in beta with Comet. So
I haven't used it.
It's early days. The bigger picture, though, is why we think Atlassian bought browser companies specifically and how this serves a purpose for them, which is a trend we're seeing around orchestration. Companies are for orchestration of AI and automation.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. In Mike's video, the CEO of Atlassian, he was talking about the browser was made to browse the internet, right? But we don't, as knowledge workers, browse the internet anymore. We work on the internet. And the browsing experience is very different than the working experience. And this layer of orchestration across your tools is something that you and I do all the time for big clients and different companies trying to orchestrate their tools to work together with their people. And what might an orchestration layer look like? Obviously, Jira, the main product of Atlassian, does ticketing and setting up a whole bunch of
project management and
project management plans. Yeah, project and task management. Like that's what it is. Enterprise project and task management. But what does that look like, across all SaaS apps, right? You access all of your SaaS apps on your browser, or you download a desktop app because you just like desktop apps, right? But for the most part, you're accessing them through a browser that was foundationally designed to browse and not work.
Yeah.
So when there is a browser that is now designed and geared towards work, what does that actually look like? Which actually makes a ton of sense why Atlassian would acquire a browser like the Browser Company of New York, because it gives them a huge step forward in that, mind shift from what does it mean to, be a knowledge worker browsing on the internet compared to a knowledge worker working on the internet. But we've seen some of these orchestration tools that pop up on Product Hunt, and they're like, hey, what is your process? And it's like, this is going to go to an agent, and this is going to wait for a person, and this is going to do some research, and then this is going to, stay here until Janet from accounting clicks approve. Like, it kind of feels like kid gloves orchestration. It would be good on, a 5-person company where everyone's sitting in the same room, and you're like, hey, check your notification. It's in your boat now. But it doesn't feel like real enterprise orchestration. But I'm curious what you think about that.
So I think the browser code stuff with Atlassian, I don't think that they'll stay independent for that long if Atlassian truly wants to get ahead of the orchestration game, because I completely agree with what you're saying. I think we're seeing a big thing we haven't seen before, which was there's always been orchestration on the back end of how teams and companies and individuals use technology in their work. There's always been, orchestration of data. There's, and AWS is one of the most profitable ideas that got spun out of, well, we need orchestration for our back end. Now it's half the internet runs on it. Point being, of most people who know what ChatGPT is don't know what AWS is or does. And so there's always been orchestration of data and integrations and tools working for people in the business. But now with this era, we're seeing this orchestration for the end user or the person who actually uses the tools. And so I think the orchestration of tools like Area and Trace and stuff that you and I were sharing links about this week is all about, for people building AI, how are they connecting the pipes, and how are we auditing performance and making sure that, we're not going over in huge costs for AI tokens. But things like browser code being bought, or even what we're seeing with Zapier, using the word orchestration everywhere, the big players and small players are all basically trying to say, we know that how everyone works is changing, and we know that we're going to transition away from, you've got 19 apps with 19 logins and 19 co-pilots and 19 AI prompts that you paste into each tool. Everyone is working towards that. There's an abstraction of orchestration on top of all of that. You're not looking at these things individually anymore. You're saying, hey, we just had a meeting and I need summary minutes in our team channel and my email. One is client facing, one is for internal. et cetera, et cetera. And like the orchestration, you are asking for that, and you can tell what they're trying to do is build something for someone to see, like, oh, when they ask for that, I'm going to go to their calendar and look at who was in the calendar, and then I'm going to go to the transcript tool, and then I'm going to go to the last set of action items and compare them, and then write the email, and then write the client-facing one. Like, all this stuff right now is clunky. To your point, it feels like kids' gloves. And the goal, I think, of all these new era browsers and Atlassian buying Browser Co. is in the Atlassian stack of tools, which is a multi-billion-dollar company and covers, technically millions of people's work each day. For Atlassian to buy them and build it into the orchestration of everything that I just explained, asking, can you go do this and do that? It's like, well, Atlassian now has a browser that people are used to working with, and they start to layer in those features to orchestrate stuff, is where I think part of where it'll go. I think they'll still continue on probably with what does an AI first browser look like, but I'm very curious to see where like the orchestration for the end users plays out over the next couple of years.
I think that's the term, orchestration, that a lot of these companies are going to be chasing, because right now, if you actually look at an orchestra, right, you got some different SaaS apps playing different instruments, and everybody wants to be the conductor. Everybody wants to be running the orchestra, and the browser really does that orchestration right now. It's just on a personal level. So maybe the Browser Co. will end up being the orchestra for first-party integrations with Atlassian, right? Your Jira, your Trello, your setup in the Atlassian stack will be more easily integrated and accessible through the AI first experience. I'm still skeptical that anyone really knows or has landed on like product market fit for what the AI first browser experience is. I don't think it's a new tab opens up a chat window. I don't think that's it. There has to be some more depth there, some more intelligence there, and actually like remove some thinking or burden of prompting from me.
I think that's where we're starting to see more and more talk about, their vibe coding is technically the early days of what a lot of people, and I agree, of like a lot of your interfaces will be created on the fly. They're going to be purpose built by the AI. We'll figure out what do I need to show you to get this thing done, and then I'm going to show it to you. I think we're years away from that, though. I think that's why there's a race, and our literal arms race for AI, because everyone knows that this orchestration era of AI is probably going to be around for a decade, because realistically, the only way to solve for that is there's 2 or 3 corporations with everyone's data on everything. But until such time, there's going to be too much scattered all over the place. And have you seen the new Alien TV show, by the way?
I haven't, no.
Okay. It's wonderful. On Disney Plus, Hulu, highly suggest. But B, why I bring it up is it's been fascinating to watch. The Alien franchise is built around the entire galaxy being run by like 4 corporations. Like there is no more government. And so that's why they have such a stranglehold on people, because they own all of their data and everything related to their lives. There's no more government. They own your means of production and everything that you produce and everything that you buy in your house, etc. Point being, that is literally, if you played out the bad version of where AI could go and why it's an arms race and why you don't want certain companies getting there first, is because in the absence of the people who own the AI also own all of the data related to it, we need orchestration. And so I think we're going to see stuff like browser code news, I think, happening more and more. And I think people in general, kind of like Zapier's suddenly putting it up on their website all over the place. I think we're going to see more and more of people talking about orchestration. I think is the buzzword, the battleground, but also what's turning into a buzzword, which is why I think you and I want to talk about it to unpack it. So then if someone to us says, what do you mean by orchestration? Everyone's saying that. This is what we mean.
Yeah. I think the fragmentation problem, I'm actually encouraged by the fragmentation problem. I hope that fragmentation continues, because with that breeds the promise of competition, at least, or the illusion of competition, and fast follow copycats, and requires orchestration. When you're just in the Microsoft stack and you have nothing outside of the Microsoft stack, there really is not so much a need for orchestration, and new ideas are very difficult to come by and sort of get into your ecosystem. But we'll see, right? This is the wonderful time to be alive. What a time to go through this and see just crazy evolution of this technology. Here we are.
It's moving quick. Well, speaking of, let's get back to building with it. What have you been watching? Although, give me the last 20 seconds here. What have you been watching? I've been watching this Alien show. What about you? Anything new?
I've been watching Dexter.
That's the other one. It's the new, like, it's back.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah. It's very good. Yeah. It's very good. If you haven't seen all of the other seasons in the original, it's definitely worth starting from the beginning.
And then stop around season 3 and then jump to the newest.
Oh, come on. It's still good. It's good.
Okay. Wow, we're into horror stuff lately. New Alien TV show, new Dexter TV show. That's it. Okay. Well, on that note, enjoy your weekend. Chat soon, my friend.
See you.